Welcome to A Little TLC, the podcast where we embark on an enlightening journey through the ever-evolving world of education. I'm your host, Heather Volchko, and I'm on a mission to empower educators and change makers to skillfully navigate the intricacies of serving our most exceptional students. Every month, we'll be exploring a unique and timely theme in a mini-series format, whether we're digging into inclusive teaching practices, addressing student mental health challenges, or exploring the intricate connection between our personal and professional lives. Each month offers an in-depth exploration of weekly topics that truly matter. I hope you're ready to be both challenged and inspired because this is A Little TLC. So this month we are talking all about presence. Presence is in the CE, not the TS, right? So being present in those interactions. So Flora, for you, when we're talking about being present, what are some of those first things that are coming up for you?
Well, you know how they're in this age of technology and stuff like that. We always tend to have our faces in our phones when we're with people. And so for me, like if I'm with you and we're talking, like right now, I don't want to be like, oh, look, there's a message and like just doing that on the side because I know that you're not going to feel like I'm actually there. Like,
Mm.
oh, there's something else going on that's more important than you. You know, like when my husband and I go on dates, it's turn the phone over, turn the volume off, and look each other in the face and talk, that kind of thing. So that's a big present thing for me. Um, and
That
I
makes a
try to
ton of
put
sense. Like,
yeah,
I feel like sometimes in our generation too, we're okay with multitasking. We're okay to have the conversation in front of us as well as virtually, and
right.
sometimes simultaneously. But I
Mhm.
think I think you're right. Sometimes it can go so far to the, only communicating through the technology that sometimes we forget the actual people that we're sitting in like the actual physical present moment with.
Right, and I think also paying attention to, like, the conversation that's going on. So if you and I are having a conversation about, "Oh, this is what we did last week," you might be okay or I might be okay with, like, a little texting on the side, but if I come to you like, "Oh my goodness, like, my pet died," and, like, all that, turmoil I'm having, and you're on your phone, that's a little different. So I think paying attention too to, like, what we're talking about and, like, what is the heart of the person that's talking to you. Like, I really need someone to be listening to me, or hey, we're just hanging out, that kind of thing. That's really important too.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about is kind of a level of authenticity.
Mm,
Um, Where it's I mean, we talk about being fully present, right? And if that's truly possible or not, but is it genuine? So am I just here
yeah,
faking it to be here, or am I here because I actually like there's a reason or there's a purpose for me to be here? And I know for me,
right,
sometimes it's making a reason to be there. Sometimes there are social obligations, especially this time of year, that we just have to show up and be part of.
right,
Um, but sometimes, for me, then that means that I am finding a purpose in that moment so that I can actually be authentically, genuinely there. Um,
yeah,
I think for me, it also helps me feel like I'm not just wasting time and what am I doing? It gives me like a reason. So something that I can kind of grip onto.
right, right, yeah, yeah,
I think that kind of leads into adaptability then, because there are times that I need to be flexible and I need to adapt to whatever either conversation is going on or if there's another need that pops up, like
mhm,
either in a school setting or sometimes, kind of like we're saying through technology, another communication comes in and now I need to shift attention or kind of I don't know. To me, it's just like I'm needing to be adaptable. I'm needing to be flexible, but that's also part of being present is that I'm choosing where I'm being present. But I know
yeah,
sometimes I've gotten communications technologically, been in an interaction in person, but I'll acknowledge the fact that I'm engaging in my technology that, hey,
right,
I'm so sorry. I just got this thing. Do you mind if I step out and call this person back? Or,
right,
I need to reply to this email real quick. Are you okay with that? Right. And I've had people be like, "Oh, no, of course, do what you need to do," right?
yeah,
And I've had other people that kind of, do like that frustrated
right,
sigh or whatever.
yeah,
Um, but then I think to me, it's okay, then let me acknowledge this person real quick
right,
technologically and then attend to this conversation, wrap it up, walk away, and then meet the need of whatever is on the other side of my device. But I think for me, that means I need to be flexible. I need to be able to adapt to the needs that are coming in at any given time, but also the needs of the people that I am physically in the space with.
Right.
Um,
And I want to point out what you said earlier was really good, where you asked them, hey, like, is it okay if I go do this? And hey, something came up, like, are you all right if I? Because then that makes them see that hey, I want to be here with you. I do care about you. However, something's going on. Are you okay with this? I think that's really good because know they know that you're still there for them. You just really need to take this. And I think that's great. That's a good point.
hmm. I guess to me, I don't even think about it. I'm just thinking like my experience is whatever is kind of happening around me at that moment. And that includes anybody who's around me.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't know, maybe there's like an aspect of inclusivity that comes with being present. I know like we've been in the living room with some friends who are over and in this day and age there's a zillion different group chats with different people and whatever.
Right.
So something will come through some group chat and maybe like two or three of the people in the room will giggle and then,
Yeah.
other people in the room are like, what's going on? Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's, hey, check this out, show
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
funny whatever came through. Um, to me, it's just everybody's in that moment. So if some group of people are having an experience, well, then we're inviting the rest of the group into that experience as well. So
Right.
I know my husband will put stuff up on the TV and, play it like a funny video that just came through or something like that to share that
Yeah.
with anybody who is in the space.
Right. Never
So
the, "Oh, you wouldn't understand," or, "Oh, it's an inside joke." Like,
yeah,
that's probably not a good thing to do.
it's so dismissive
Yeah.
of it. Yeah, I don't. To me, I just don't even see it that way. But I guess there is maybe an unconscious just a commitment to inclusivity on my end.
Mhm.
That it's if anyone is in that space, then they get access to whatever it is that's going on. Confidentiality and all that aside, but in a social setting, how to actually be present is maybe just to be inclusive, right? Bring other people into that conversation, even if it is an inside joke, explain it or catch them up to speed, or here's why it's funny to us. And even after we explain it, it'll probably make no sense to you too. But hey, like you're welcome into it regardless.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. As an introvert, when I'm in a large group of people that I especially the ones I don't know very well, it's those groups that are like telling a joke and then they like, "Hey," and like bring me into it. And because I don't know how to just pop into the like conversation, but when they draw me in, and you're very good at that, of like drawing people in that aren't a normal part of the group, like, oh,
Yeah.
somebody just came in or they've only met you a couple times. You're very good at like bringing people into that conversation. And those are the groups I really appreciate and feel welcomed in and like I want to come back there because they included me. And I'm
Mhm.
not just sitting awkwardly on the side listening to them laugh at a joke that I don't get.
Yeah. But I think that points out a strength of yours, which is like textbook active listening.
Mm,
You can be, feeling like you're on the outside of a conversation or people are kind of choosing not to include you in a conversation and you are still present.
mhm,
Like you provide really good eye contact. You can, mirror some of the like the emotions that are happening in that interaction. You get a feel for what's going on just by scanning a room, right? Like, I'm not talking about
mhm.
eavesdropping or like standing
Right,
awkwardly
right,
outside of a conversation and like gawking
right.
or whatever, right? But like, you can walk into a space and within a few minutes, kind of have a feel for the dynamics, right? Who's in an okay spot, who's not, who's, just like you can just get a read for it. But I think some of that is just you are so present in the way that you receive what other people are kind of putting out there. And if that's intentionally or not, who knows? In terms of like, do they know how they're coming across? But you're
Mhm,
pretty spot on. But I think a lot of that is just because you are so active in being so present that you're hearing stuff that people are not even necessarily saying. You're just noticing it.
mhm,
This week, it's Webinar Week. Dive into an exclusive webinar featuring insights from practitioners just like you who've achieved remarkable success in their own corners of our education world. Whether you aspire to advance your career, explore new possibilities, or simply expand your horizons, our webinars cover a vast array of topics. Pre recorded webinars offer the flexibility you need to fit learning into your busy life. You have the power to watch, rewind, and replay the content at your own convenience. And did we mention you can earn continuing education units too? But that's not all. By becoming a member of the TLC Network, you gain access to professionals committed to walking this experience together. Learners get access to valuable webinars, enriching workshops, and engaging guest hangouts. Supporters gain access to our vibrant online community, live Q&A sessions, and join discussions in a little PLC. Clever, right? Either way, you'll be among the first to access our podcast and blog pairing every week. Don't let time constraints hold you back. Embrace this incredible opportunity to invest in yourself and your profession. Join us for this week's webinar and seize the opportunity to learn, grow, and thrive on your own terms.
That kind of ties into something we wanted to talk about with being approachable and professional at the same time.
Yeah.
Because something that I can have the ability to do, I guess, as you were saying, is to read the people around me. And so in a professional setting, that is key because you want to feel like, is this group of people that I'm going to be working with, or I am working with, or something like that? Are they laid back people? Are they very, very by the book people? Because I like to make people laugh, as you know. And I really have to read the group of people is this an okay, almost like, is this a safe place to make jokes or to poke fun at people or that
Yeah.
kind of thing? Because that can make or break the relationships really fast. And I've had to learn that the hard way in some of my old jobs where I wanted to joke and these people just didn't get my jokes and they weren't those kind of people. And I actually got disciplined in the job for it because it just wasn't the right setting. So, when at TLC, I was sending emails that were very professional and, just very boring, I guess is the right word. And then we all met in person. I got to meet everybody. The jokes were flying. It was wonderful. So now my emails have turned into joking. Like my personality could come out. It was like a safe place, so to speak, to make jokes. And obviously, there's some boundaries. You got to make
Of
sure,
course.
you don't want to be unprofessional, but um, make jokes and put funny gifs in and, just make it fun and still be professional. And I know that everybody in this particular professional group is totally open to that and it appreciates it, I think, on some level. So,
Yeah, but I think that came from you kind of engaging in a professional communication, right? Either certain reminders or certain kind of recurring things. So
right.
it can also be kind of like mundane in the sense of there's
Right.
just like
Yeah.
this repetitiveness of it. I think it helped because you set like a clear expectation
Mhm.
that like this is what this is, here's the expectation, here's what needs to be done, here's the standard routine that it's going to be done with, right?
Right.
um I think you were always very reliable in the sense of it was always at a certain time and that there was like a punctuality on your end and you were following up accordingly, right? So you'd kind of set all of that out from the beginning, and then to be able to have that open communication and meet people face to face and have some of those natural interactions, now you can pick up on their body language. You can pick up on
Right.
their kind of natural communication style. It's different than just lobbing, messages, if it's email or chat or whatever back and forth. And then you could start infusing that humor, some warmth, right? Like you get all that stuff in there. Um,
Right.
and it is still professional, right? Like it's
Right.
still very like, here's what needs to get done, and it's still the same reminders, but now there's like a different flair to it,
Right.
which
Right.
is super fun. Um,
Right.
and you've found the balance with that, right?
Right. And I'm not changing myself. I'm just what do you want to call it? Like breaking some of the walls down, I guess, of I could be more myself, but I'm definitely not changing who I am to fit in with the crowd. I'm just making sure that how I am goofy or whatever is okay in this setting and it still can be professional, if that makes sense.
Oh, that makes a ton of sense. But I think like what you were saying with, it fits in some places and some places it doesn't. To me, that's the balance between like kind of your staunch professionalism and maybe you're like being super approachable, right? Trying to find that balance is being
Mhm.
aware of the context that you're in. Right.
Exactly.
There are groups that we can be funny and goofy with, and then there are moments with that group that are very serious.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so to read that and to shift accordingly, I think that's balance, right? It's not I have to be professional or I have to be approachable. Actually, to
Mhm.
be present is a constant kind of ebb and flow combination of both of them.
Mhm.
But I think that comes from that awareness of the context, right? But I think
Right.
what you're speaking to also is that you were building relationships over time and kind of that
Mhm.
slow growth, slow learning allowed you to read not just the context of the workplace, but the context of the individual and to
Right.
know kind of where they're at and how can I fit like, oh, this has been a really stressful week. So maybe I can be a little bit warmer in this way. Or this person's
Right.
in a really great place. They've had a solid week. They're so excited about these things. I can be super goofy and toss in a couple gifts or whatever. Or like this
Exactly.
person has been through it. This has been a heck of
Yeah.
a week. And so I can approach it maybe a little bit more, less goofy and more just, warm and supportive and more maybe
Right.
minimalistic. Like you tell me what you need. Right. But that's
Mhm.
because that relationship has been built over time and you can read the context of the person also within the context of that workplace.
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't know. I think I also appreciate it because you're just so stinking reflective. So I think when I'm thinking through being present,
Mhm.
I wonder if there's an aspect of introspection or kind of self reflection that's
Mhm.
maybe required.
Mm.
Um, Because if we're not reading the room or we're not reading ourselves or we're not, if some of those things are just not in the mix, then how could we actually be present?
Mhm. Now, you've heard the saying, "You can't pour from an empty cup," I'm sure.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, that ties into boundaries and self-care and all that, but, if I'm not in a good place, I probably am not in a position to be present for someone, and that's something I had to learn. It took me many, many, many years because I just love pouring into people, but sometimes you just can't. So sometimes you have to go to a friend and like be, "Hey, I need you to be present for me." Not in those words, but sometimes you just need someone to be there for you before you can be there for someone else. And sometimes we have to just understand that, hey, I am not in a position. I love you, but I am just not in a position to, pour into you right now. I'm having a rough time, that kind of thing. And like that vulnerability and that honesty is a big thing in relationships. I don't exactly know how to say that to someone professionally, to be honest. But, like, in my friend group, I've had to tell people, like, "I just am not in a spot right now. I'm having a rough time. I love you. Maybe I can point you to somebody else that I know can probably help you,
Mhm.
but I'm not that person." And that's hard, but it needs to be done in order to take care of yourself, and then once you're all filled up, then you can, come back to that person and say, "Hey, I'm here for you. Do you still need somebody to talk to?" or something like that. So, yes, definitely self-reflecting on, am I in a position to actually pour into this person 100% or not? So,
Yeah. No, I can give a couple examples from work because I mean, at least within the consultancy, we get pulled pretty much into only high need situations. Generally
mhm,
speaking, if it's not a high need situation, they probably don't need extra support that we offer.
right.
Um, but that does mean that sometimes the team who's on site
Mhm,
they may have been put through it that day. But if I
mhm,
also was on site and I've been put through it that day, a lot of times, like we've got very open communication amongst our team of just like, hey, I need something, or I'm good, or this is what's going on. What do I do? Like amongst the on site support team, we have a lot of just constant open communication. And that's by design so that when we are
mhm,
walking through hard things, if someone else isn't, there is a built-in like natural support network, again,
mm,
through devices and screens, right?
right, right.
But there is that level of open communication. That also means that sometimes within that expectation of open communication, there's going to be moments where I'm like, I can't, I am so sorry, right? Like I just walked out of a heck of a meeting, or like I'm still, processing a crisis situation in my own self. And then
Yeah.
like, can I give you a call back in an hour? Like I want to hear about your day. I want to debrief with you, but I need to kind of debrief my own self here for a second.
Yeah.
So like, thank you for reaching out. Yes, we will talk, but can I put a pin in it for a little bit so I can kind of do what I need to do as well? So I think
Mm.
I'm thankful for kind of being accessible and having that culture of open communication. But I think I'm
Mhm.
also incredibly thankful that there is kind of that respect of, but that goes two ways, right? So, like, there are times where I need to be cared for. And if that's just myself, or if I have, I do something else and have another conversation for me, and then I can turn around and care for the people that are coming to me for care, right? That
Yep.
it's like it's okay. And I don't know
Mhm.
if that's like my background working in crisis situations or students with intense emotional behavioral challenges or
Mhm.
I don't conflict to me isn't necessarily as rocking, but sometimes
Mhm.
I still need to then kind of put myself back together and then I'm
Mhm.
present, right? I can actually be
Mhm.
fully there for whatever need that is, but you're right, that goes back to some of those boundary things and some of that self-care stuff, and that's honestly what I see how to kind of balance. I'm both being present for you, but I'm also being clear when I'm
Yeah.
not.
Right, right. Yeah, if I'm empty trying to help fill you up, it's gonna we're both gonna be so messed up in the end. Like it's gonna be not great. Yeah, I've been there. I've tried, having conversations with people who really needed somebody when I just am not in a place, and it just does not go well because then I'm even more drained. How are you drained when you're already 0%? It's possible to get into the negatives.
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
Well, and I think that's why we're focusing on presence this month. I think
yeah,
December, we get pulled in so many different directions.
yeah.
Someone had sent a meme this morning that was something like, hey, on top of all of the crazy family stuff and events and scheduling and whatever, don't forget to dress your kid up like this, different holiday creatures every day this week. It's like, this is just the crazy season, right? There's constantly
Yeah.
things going on. I think workplace demands are heightened and different industries are also either ramping up for taking time off. And so it's how can we
Mhm,
do 4 weeks of work in one?
mhm.
So there's like extra pressure there on top of all these social obligations. So I think this like tis the season to not be
Yeah,
present, right? Like it is so
right.
easy to get pulled in way too many directions and just not feel like efficient, successful, like the really what are we doing? Like there's just too many
Yeah,
things. And especially
yeah.
for schools, it's kind of felt like that all year. So now you
Mhm,
layer all this holiday stuff on top of a pretty difficult year to begin with. And man,
mhm.
like it is everything in me to say, okay, choose to unplug, disengage, and make sure
Yeah,
that I'm okay. Choose to have some boundaries and, say like, "Hey, I would love to go to that party. Thank you so much for thinking of me, but I've already got another
mhm.
commitment that night. I'm so sorry." Or
Yeah,
maybe, send something for them to enjoy at the party as opposed to physically going and being present
right,
at that party, right? I think there's
right.
those little things that can be kind of helpful this kind of year.
Yeah, I really appreciate a couple of my friends, even in the end of November, when I was like, "Hey, you guys wanna hang out and do this and do that?" And they're like, "We'd love to. Let's plan to do that after the holidays." And I just
Mm,
so appreciate that because that's like, oh yeah, I still want to get together with you, but like it's gonna be crazy, and we've got kids, and we've got events, and family, and travel, and blah blah. Let's do it after the holidays. And I'm like, yes, I'm totally there. I just want to see you. Okay, like that's fine. So yeah, I love that I have friends that will set that boundary, and they don't do it in like yeah, I'll get back to you on that kind of way. It's like a yes, let's totally do that just after the holidays. So
Well, I think that is a perfect little teaser for our next week conversation anyway, because we're going to be talking about kind of mindful communication and some of that emotional intelligence and how we're embedding that in. So I think we'll call it a week.
look at that. All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining.
Hey, thanks for having me.
All right. Talk to you next week.
See ya.
Hey, before you jump back into your busy life, we want to invite you to head over to thresholdlearning.org, your one-stop destination for all things TLC. Here you'll find our blog with this episode's show notes, our ever-expanding bookshelf of resources, and anything else we've talked about. Trust us, there's a ton of benefits waiting for you to explore. Just head over to thresholdlearning.org, click on network, and we'll see you on the inside. Sharing the podcast with your colleagues is the easiest way to support the show. You can find us at Threshold Learning TLC on Facebook and Instagram. A personal recommendation is by far the best way to share the podcast. Let them know they can listen on iTunes, Spotify, and anywhere else they catch their podcasts. Just be sure to leave a rating and review on your favorite platform. You can email us at info@thresholdlearning.org. We always enjoy connecting with fellow educators and champions for educational justice. You can find everything you're looking for at thresholdlearning.org. See you there.